All right. Hey, folks. So today's video is going to be about the common question of when do I get to add food back into my diet once I finish cutting? So firstly, thanks for making it onto my channel. If you have any questions or comments, pop them down below. And if you'd like to work with me on your own strength and physique goals, there's a link in the description. Now, I've had this conversation with a few people over the years. One such time which was notable was a childhood friend of mine. We had this conversation a couple of years back, and she was saying she was a notorious yo-yo dieter. She'd gone up and down in weight over the last couple of decades, and ultimately she was unhappy with her physique. And she said, yeah, once she's finished his diet, she can't wait to eat all the good stuff again. And I knew that was going to fail because it was just the wrong attitude to have. And secondly is more recently a friend of mine who's currently on a diet, and he's sort of starting to think about how he's going to approach reintroducing a lot of the foods which he enjoys eating and have caused him to be overweight back into his diet. The commonality with both of these people is they've both yo-yo dieted in the past. So they've both been up and down in weight. Ultimately, when they're dieted down and they're skinny, they feel kind of happy, but because of how they look, but they just don't have the metabolism to support that level of leanness. They just end up really skinny and they look fragile and frail. And then when they add a bit of weight back on, they end up looking skinny fat because they've got nothing on their bones. Now, there's a few things with this. Firstly, neither of them have really earned a high degree of a high metabolism because neither have built up any muscle mass. They're both still look like very sedentary non-lifters. So that's a major thing. I mean, I think most people can add on about 20 to 30 pounds of muscle mass on their frames over the course of a lifetime from the point where they lift. You add the majority of that on in your first, 2-3 years, and then as the years go on, you add a little bit on here and there. But that has a direct impact on your metabolism. Now, if you add, let's say, best case scenario, you add 30 pounds of muscle tissue. Well, that's 30 pounds that your metabolism, 30 pounds extra your metabolism has to work, on a day-to-day basis, just doing nothing. It's 30 pounds of free muscle, free metabolism. And it looks a lot better than 30 pounds of fat, right? It actually hangs on your frame. It looks good. So neither of those two earned a high metabolism because they just didn't place a premium on lifting weights. They just did a bunch of cardio. So the next thing is neither of them actually do any substantial lifting. So on a regular basis, they won't really lift. The nice thing about lifting is it burns a ton of energy. And it scales exponentially. The bigger you are, the more you train, the more your muscles move, the harder they contract, the harder you work, the more intense you work, the better you become at being a lifter, the more calories you burn. So just like any activity, the more you do it, the better you get at it and the more you burn. So neither do any substantial lifting. Now, lifting burns through quite a lot of calories, just the actual lifting process itself. But then afterwards, the body has to replenish the carbohydrate stores, all that kind of stuff. So there's a certain amount of energy which goes into replenishing and fixing your body after you finish training. It's all an energy sink, basically. You can train one day and still be recovering the day after, which is going to cause your metabolism to be raised. So second thing is neither do any substantial lifting, which is a huge draw. And the third thing is neither have a high base of activity because when they were in their 20s and 30s, they were reasonably active. They did the whole blue pill thing of like doing a lot of cardio because apparently that's the way to be fit and healthy. Do lots of cardio, do lots of running. And now when they're older and they're busy with life, they've got kids, they can't run around anymore. And they just realized they've got no muscle mass and they're not very active. So they're fucked, basically, to put it another way, So to answer the question, when do I add it back in all my favorite foods and stay lean after a diet? Well, the answer to that is you might not ever get to do that. If you spend 30 years or 20 years doing cardio, burning off all your muscle mass, eating low protein, and whatever other poor habits have led you to the fact where you've got a very, very low degree of muscle and you're just very small and frail, you got blue pilled into believing all that stuff actually works for a good physique. It doesn't. You messed up. Now, in terms of what you can do about it, what we're talking about here is we're talking about this skinny fat body type. So ultimately, this is the body type that when you do go on a diet, let's say you've dieted for a few months, you end up being very skinny and just looking very frail with very little muscle mass. And when you're relaxed in your eating, you end up looking skinny fat. You're just kind of in that meh phase where you're mostly skin and bones with some pudge. Now, what you can do first of all is accept that that's the problem and actually begin to place a premium on building muscle. And so far, I've said this is with older clients, but really it could be with younger clients too. Even if you're 20, 25 years old and that's all you've done and you've never really placed a premium on building muscle mass. Let's say you're, I don't know, let's say you're 20 years old right now and you're just doing everything you can to keep your body weight down because you want to stay lean and shredded. You're not building anything. It's the same thing. The commonality in all of this is people who don't place a premium on building muscle. That's important. It's highly important. So the solution is firstly to accept that, and then the solution usually is to spend years building some reasonable amount of muscle tissue up. And this then moves into the conversation about age, because for these people who are both over 40 years old, it's going to be harder to build up any muscle mass now, simply because there are health repercussions of going up in body weight when you're skinny fat at an average weight and going up into the sort of maybe potentially obese range to build some muscle mass. There are health ramifications of that. And they are more real at 40 and at 50 than they are at 20 and at 30. So it's not that it's too late at 40 and 50, because it's definitely not, but it's a riskier strategy. Ultimately, it might be a strategy you feel is worth doing, and ultimately I feel it is. But you may be into your 40s and 50s with already some underlying health problems. So going on a lean bulk diet where you are in a surplus and building muscle, it might be hard on your body. So if you're one of those people who have spent the last 20 years yo-yoing up and down in weight because you refuse to actually dig in and do a proper lifting routine and place some premium on building muscle, then just accept the fact that you fucked up. You did. You got blue pilled into believing that that was the way, and it's not. And you're seeing that now. But there is a way out. Firstly, accept that that's you, okay? If it is, start to place a premium on building muscle. Monitor your health as you should and start to spend some years building muscle tissue up with the goal of, okay, I fucked up my 20s and 30s. Let's at least not fuck up my 40s so that my 50s look better. Build some muscle up so you actually have a better metabolism. You look better. You have better habits. If you're a young guy watching this now and you're skinny fat, bulk, lean bulk, but put some muscle on. Some people can do it with a sort of recomp phase, and I have outlined how to recomp in the past. It does work. It's just a less direct route to get to the end goal. So lean bulk. I always say about 1% of body weight per month is about right. At that point, and that usually works out to about a 200 or 300 calorie surplus, which is pretty minimal, but it's enough to feel full during the course of the day so that when you go to the gym, you're feeling good and strong, you have enough energy, you get all the metabolic effects of excess calories, like better sleep, better mood, better hormonal profile, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I've said it time and time again, and I've been doing this now for lifting weights for 22 years, and I've had so many friends who didn't see the value in lifting weights, who thought it was just for people who like to pose out their muscles, for vain people. Yeah, well, you're all wrong. Like, we're right. The people who are watching this video and me, we're all right. We are the ones who got it right in the end, and we know this now. And I can confidently say at my age that we got it right. We are in the right here. Lifting weights, building muscle mass, putting that as a priority for the course of your lifetime is going to lead to far better health and results over the course of a lifetime than just blue pilling yourself into believing that cardio, low protein, and all those things are good for your health. Like, ultimately, at the end of the day, what's going to be better for your health is being lean and jacked. And what supports that is building up a high degree of muscle mass in the gym. Sure, do your cardio alongside that. I won't begrudge that at all. But the premium must be placed on building muscle. It is not just a vanity affair. It is done for health. And we are lifting for health. Right, folks, I'll call it there. And I'll speak to you all next time.